Have you ever found yourself scrolling through Netflix, Prime, or Crunchyroll for what feels like forever, only to end up rewatching the same comfort show again? Maybe it's The Office, Friends, or that one anime you've seen 10 times, because even with hundreds of new masterpieces dropping every month, nothing seems to stick. Nothing feels worth the time anymore. And that's the thing about today's entertainment. There's always something new to chase, but there's rarely anything that stays. Yet, in the middle of this endless cycle of hype and forgettable shows, there is one story that has stood tall for 26 years straight. A series that didn't just survive the trends, but defined what storytelling could really reach in anime. That story is One Piece. It's a series that's been running since the 90s, but even now in 2025, it is still one of the most talked about, most beloved, and most emotionally rewarding stories ever told, not just in anime, but across all forms of storytelling. And that's what makes it so special, because where most stories fade, One Piece only gets better. Its world, its heart, and its sense of adventure have touched generations of fans who have all found something deeply personal in it, whether it was hope, courage, or the dream of something greater. So today I want to talk about why One Piece is a story you simply cannot miss, without any spoilers, but with all the reasons as to why it's remained a masterpiece for more than 2 decades. So let's start with the obvious. Yes, One Piece is long. Thousands of chapters, thousands of episodes, over decades of storytelling. But here's the thing, people act like that's a flaw, like it's some sort of punishment, when in reality that is part of the experience. That length lets One Piece do what no other story can ever accomplish. It's not about how many episodes there are, it's about what the time actually does for you. Because the longer you stay in this world and the more immersed you become in it, genuinely, the more it feels alive. Every island, every character, every culture just becomes so real. Nothing really exists to just fill space. Everything actually has a purpose and meaning in One Piece. Now, unlike a lot of other shows that are just short, quick, and right to the point, One Piece doesn't rush to its destination. The point is the bonds and the real storytelling along the way. That is really what One Piece is about. I know that's really corny to say, but in today's generation where everything is about instant gratification, One Piece rewards patience, and I can really appreciate that. And genuinely, that's why it just hits so hard for me as a story. Every single week, I am waiting on the edge of my seat for the new chapter, and every week I'm rewarded for it by having an insane story. Now, I know a lot of people say One Piece is slow, and yes, I can agree with them at times, but what they don't realize is that this pacing mirrors real life. There are moments of chaos, moments of calm, and moments of reflection. And when something big finally happens, it really means something in the story. These quiet moments are what make the loud moments feel so powerful. That goofiness and that silliness in the story actually make the heartbreaks feel even harder, because you realize that these guys are just like real characters, real people. And in an era where stories are rushed, cut up, and just shipped out to the masses to make as much money possible, Oda takes his time. He builds anticipation up in this story. He makes you live with these characters long enough for you to actually care. So when they go through moments of heartbreak and through moments of triumph, you're rooting for them every single way. That's not poor pacing, in my opinion. That's deliberate storytelling. And it mirrors just like Tolkien did with Lord of the Rings. If you've ever watched those movies, they may feel slow at times, but that slow build-up made those big moments in the movie feel epic. And One Piece is the exact same way. Then there's the other big thing, right? The goofiness, the cartoonish design, the over-exaggerated reaction, and the running gags. I know it can become much in the story, and outside looking in, you can really look at it and just be like, this story is childish. But that's actually part of One Piece's genius. The humor, the absurdity, it's all there to balance the story out. It's there to really balance the heaviness that's underneath the surface of what One Piece is. Because the story isn't just about fun and adventure and this guy that can extend his arm. It's about corruption, oppression, freedom, rights, and liberation. And those bright, ridiculous moments between the characters remind you what's really at stake. They show you the beauty of life before they're tested in their moments of pain. That contrast, that balance between laughter and tragedy, that makes One Piece human. That brings the story to beyond this just cartoon, this anime. It makes it feel real, because Ichiro Oda doesn't just write a story, he builds an entire universe. Every island feel like it has its own culture. Every character, no matter how small, serves a purpose. And every mystery planet from even years ago finally get resolved in a way that makes you stop and think that, yo, this guy had everything planned along the way. What the fuck? Because there's a sense of care and precision that you see in One Piece that you just never see. Not just in anime, but in fiction as a whole. That is insane. It's the type of long-term world building that you see something out of Tolkien, where every single detail adds to the mythos of the world, and every moment builds towards something greater. So when you first watch One Piece, it may seem like a story that is just so stupid. But then once you get deeper and deeper into it, you start to realize that all those moments in the past, everything mattered. Everything was important. Now, at the center of all of that adventure, loss, tragedy, battles, and laughter, One Piece at its core is all about family. Not the kind that you're born into, but the kind that you find along the way. Now, I know all of you guys can relate to that. We all have friends that we see as family. We all have friends that we see as brothers and sisters. One Piece feels just like that, right? The crew is a family that has found each other along the way, that is ready to ride or die for each other. It's about loyalty, sacrifice, and what it means to chase a dream even when the world tries to stop you. And every single character carries a piece of that theme: hope, pain, and resilience. And somehow they all reflect it back at you. And I think this is why One Piece connects with so many different people across generations and cultures alike. Because no matter where you're from, you can find a piece of yourself in One Piece. Because One Piece isn't just an anime, it's a global phenomenon. It's a symbol, man. That straw hat skull has become a flag of freedom and rebellion across the world in real life. From murals in cities to collaborations with massive brands in real life, the impact is everywhere. It's a rare story that's bridged generations, from parents, kids, and even grandparents to all share and experience the same story. And that's because the world of One Piece isn't built on trends. It's built on themes, ideals, and real life morals that drive people in their day-to-day lives. It's built on timeless ideas, dreams, freedom, and the will to keep moving forward. Once you experience that, there is no way that you can't root for the story. There is no way that you don't become a fan of One Piece. Because it's like the ultimate underdog story. You just want to see the Straw Hats win at every single endeavor, no matter what it is, no matter who it is. Because deep down, that's how you are. You hope that no matter what you see in life, you're able to come across it. And One Piece is a great motivator for that. So no, One Piece isn't too long, and One Piece isn't goofy, and it's not too late to start. It's one of the most human, heartfelt, and meticulously crafted stories to ever grace humanity. And if you've been waiting for the right time to start it, let that time be now. Let this video be your catalyst into starting your journey into One Piece. Because while you've been putting it on the back burner and scrolling past it, you've honestly been missing out on the greatest story ever told.